Good morning, dear educators all over the Philippines and those watching us from the other countries. Welcome to the fourth day of the 2020 CEAP Congress. We thank Father Alain Manalo, our outgoing CEAP Secretary and Region 4 Trustee, for presiding over our Eucharistic celebration today from the St. Mary Magdalene Parish in Kawit, Cavite. Thank you, Father Alain. I am Marianne Cruz, the Deputy Executive Director of CEAP, and I will be your moderator for this morning's session. Yesterday, we had three learning sessions based on the domains of the Philippine Catholic School Standards as the framework. We had sessions on Catholic identity and mission with a talk on the educating to fraternal humanism. For learning environment, we had the talk on place-based learning. And for learner development, we had educating the whole child. We continue with the next three domains today for our learning sessions for leadership and governance, operational vitality, and research and community engagement. Before we proceed with our session, we just want to respond to your frequently asked question on our Facebook page about e-certificates. We want to remind you that you only need to attend at least one session for each day for days 3 and 4. Today is day 4. And to submit an evaluation for one learning session for each day and a general evaluation at the end of the convention to get an e-certificate for the entire Congress. We will only issue one e-certificate, and that is for the entire Congress. And you need to submit three evaluation forms. One for each learning session per day, and one for the general evaluation, whose link will be live only tomorrow. So the link to this evaluation session, the link to the evaluation form for this session is already included in the caption to this video, both on Facebook and on YouTube. But this will go only live after the session has ended and will remain open until 7 p.m. today. So the link to the evaluation will only be open after the session. That will be at around 11:30 or 12 o'clock this morning and will remain open until 7 p.m. today. If you missed any of the session and you wish to watch all videos of the different sessions, these are all saved in the video section of our official CAP Facebook page and in our CAP channel on YouTube. So you can view and review all the videos anytime after they have been uploaded. As we begin, we encourage you to post your questions and comments at the comment section of the Facebook page or the chat box in the YouTube channel. And we will ask these questions and read the comments during the question and answer portion. Let me now introduce our session. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The VUCA world became all too real when the COVID-19 pandemic suddenly happened and we were all caught unaware. It disturbed our world, our universe, rather. Our schools had to close abruptly because of community quarantine, and we had to all work from home. We were suddenly faced with a lot of problems. How do we respond to this? What will happen to the employees with a no work, no pay situation? How do we ensure the continuity of learning? What will the new school year look like? These are just some questions that the school leaders had to ask. Our resource person for today will share his views on leadership in a VUCA world, both from theory and experience, having held many leadership positions all these years. He will share his insights on the kind of leaders and leadership qualities that we need as we move forward to the next normal. Friends and co-educators, join me in welcoming the former president of Xavier University Cagayan de Oro and now the president of Ateneo de Manila University. Let's give it up for Father Roberto Bobby Up SJ. Let's give him a virtual round of applause. Take it away, Father Bobby.
Thank you, Marianne, for that nice introduction. Magandang umaga, ayong buntag sa tanan. Good morning to all. I'm very grateful for CEAP for inviting me to give this talk. I accepted it because it allowed me to gather my thoughts and insights I have gained from reading, from theory, and from practice about leadership in this very, very trying time, these very unusual circumstances we find ourselves in. So I'd like just to share from my experience and from the different theories that we know about leading in the VUCA world. Next slide, please. The contents, really, I'd like to talk about four things this morning. Um, yeah, just to tell you, if the slides are not very clear in your screens, please know that we will issue a PDF copy of the whole slide deck later after the discussion. Um, the content is first, I'd like to talk about four things. First, we just describe how we can understand the COVID-19 pandemic as really a VUCA in action. Second, I think we like to reflect on the planning that we need to do, which is called in the literature as strategic crisis action planning. Third, I'd like to talk about leading during the crisis. Well, what are the qualities that we need for leading during this crisis? And I would like to end with some thoughts on the spirituality of crisis leadership. Next slide, please. I think we know this very well. COVID-19 is VUCA in action. Next slide, please. VUCA, as we know, is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. And I think this is what we've been talking about the last few days. Next slide, please. Then, of course, we know that COVID is very volatile. We know now that there's a first surge and a second surge, and it happens all very quickly. It's very unpredictable. It's out of our control. It's very uncertain. We don't know what action to take. We're not sure what it will be. We talk about possibly going face to face, but then no. We go blended, but no, we go online, and we're not sure. We're not sure also about who is a carrier of the virus. There is much testing that's needed. We have to do contact tracing and all that. No, we also know it's very complex. There's a lot of concerns about not only health, but it affects the whole economy. It affects how we organize socially. It affects how we conduct our schooling and almost all aspects of our life as a community and our life as citizens have been affected by this crisis. It's also very ambiguous. The environment is very unfamiliar and outside of our expertise. Next slide, please. This is what some theorists have called this is a landscape crisis. This is a hallmark, the outbreak as a hallmark of a landscape crisis. That means that there's an unexpected sequence of events, enormous scale, overwhelming speed. I think we all know that. It all happened very fast. There's a high degree of uncertainty, and this has given rise to disorientation, feeling of lost control, and strong emotional disturbance. So, in other words, this is another way to say VUCA. This is a landscape scale of crisis. Next slide, please. I think when we began, we were certainly had to deal with the COVID initial issues. First, we had to lock down our campuses. We had to establish health protocols, frequent hand washing, wearing face masks, physical distancing, face shields. We had to take care of our students. We had to take care of our teachers. We had to cancel graduations, etc. So initially, I think the first months especially, we really need to deal with the initial issues of COVID-19, prioritizing health and safety of our students and our teachers. Next slide, please. Uh, but then, of course, we realized that that was just the beginning. There is a tsunami of ever more complex issues that lie ahead. After we deal with the COVID initial issues, we know that there is economic recession happening, and that there is really an economic downturn, an economic slowdown. We know livelihoods have been lost. Many people have lost their jobs. Many people have lost their livelihoods. OFW remittances are down. And therefore, there is really a case where we are in an economic downturn. And that we have to deal with also as part of these complex issues related to the pandemic. The third graph there is really the return to work. We also know that life has to go on. We need to continue with our Catholic educational mission. And how do we return to work? How do we return back to schooling for our students, for our teachers, for our families who send their children to us? How do we bring back the schools in this very uncertain, this very volatile world? And as if that were not enough, we also have to deal with what is the new normal or the next normal. What will be like post pandemic, post coronavirus pandemic? What will it be like? We know, and I think we have a good sense that it will not be back to business as usual. We will not go back to the way it was before because there will really be a new normal, a next normal that will be coming up. And the real challenge is we really are not sure. This is part of the ambiguity and uncertainty. We are not sure what this new normal will be. Will it be predominantly online for us in our schools? Will it be blended? Will some face-to-face be allowed, etc., etc.? Will we continue working from home for our faculty, for our teachers, and for our office staff? We don't know, and but we have to deal with that new normal. Next slide, please. The next one I think is really this. I have gotten this a lot from McKinsey, the management consultancy. They say that leaders at this point really need to think across five horizons. First is really resolve. That means we deal with the initial issues, health and safety, health protocols very decisively and very deliberately. And we have to resolve that we protect and uphold the health and safety of our students and our teachers. Number two, we need to have resilience. We need to make sure that we are able to continue the educational mission in this pandemic. So we started preparing how do we do this online? How do we make sure that we have stable finances to be able to do this online, this work from home? And we had to suddenly try to check bandwidth and learning management platforms, etc. Then number three, we have to plan a detailed return. And I think we are at this point now. Most of us have already resumed our classes, resumed our schooling, and but we know that that plan is really a very different plan from what we used to, and we have to return. We are at that stage now. Many of us are in between two and three, but there's also four. We need to reimagine the next normal, what this continuous shift will look like, and implications for our schools and universities. What will this reimagination be like? And then number five, we have to think of reform. Be clear about the regulatory, the competitive environment of which we operate in our schools. Next slide, please. These three R's have been these five R's, sorry, have been translated into 5 R's of getting back to school. Resolve says focus on the immediate health threat that COVID-19 poses to students, teachers, staff, and community. Resilience, we address the near-term challenges as setting up remote control, our online learning platforms, concern about internet bandwidth, concern about arrangements for gadgets so that people can study and work from home. And we also try to support our vulnerable students who will have difficulty. They don't have gadgets, their internet connection is not so good, etc. Number three, return, is about reopening our schools and ensuring remediation for lost learning. Number four is reimagine. We need to think about what the next moral normal will be like. How do we need to reinvent ourselves in our educational system, in our Catholic school system? And then reform, we need to consider the priorities that we have in the light of the lessons that we have learned. As I said, we are, I think, between number two and number three. Most of us are in number three, return, but there's still more to come. We need to reimagine and we need to think about reform. Next slide, please. I go now to my second part, and I think this is one of the key things that we need to do for our leadership in our strategic, in this VUCA world that COVID has caused. We need to do what's called strategic crisis action planning. I think we are used to strategic planning and we are used to action planning, but we need to combine those and we need to know how to do strategic planning during a crisis and action planning during a crisis. Next slide, please. To do this strategic crisis action planning, I think we really need two leadership qualities. One is what is called deliberate calm, and second, bounded optimism. Next slide, please. To explain deliberate calm, it is really how do we steer into the storm? This is a real brewing storm, a very tough one, a very long one, and we need to practice how do we steer into the storm. Deliberate calm is defined as the ability to detach from this very tense situation, this very volatile situation, and think clearly about how one will navigate it. We cannot allow ourselves to panic. We cannot allow ourselves to be nervous and to be anxious. We need to practice deliberate calm, detach ourselves from the situation, and try to think clearly of how we can navigate this. And it is said that deliberate calm is really found in people, in leaders who possess humility. They know that they do not have all the answers. They know that there are many uncertainties. There are many things they do not know. But so therefore they are humble about it. But it is also leaders who are, that is very different from helplessness. You possess humility but not helplessness. And I think that's a very important distinction. Next slide, please. In deliberate calm, we say that we must take a deliberate choice to practice a calm state of mind. We try to keep calm. We step back and we choose. We make deliberate choices on how we can respond rather than just react instinctively, react emotionally to all the things, all the pressures that are happening. Leaders who practice deliberate calm are comfortable with discomfort, and we can look at adversity through a new lens. We can look at the challenges through a new lens. Next slide, please. In deliberate calm, also, we can use the fears that we have. It's not that we are never afraid. There can be some fears, but we try to make use of those fears. They can offer valuable information for us that we can use in our own planning. We can reframe a threat that is there as an opportunity for learning and innovation. There are many threats that we are facing in this COVID VUCA crisis, but we can use those threats as an opportunity for learning and innovation. It's also said actually that if you have deliberate calm, stress can be good if you can harness and frame it constructively, because at least your adrenaline is high. It keeps energy levels high and you can be positive. So not to be really afraid of all these apparently negative things of fear, threat, and stress, but we can use it to our own advantage. Next slide, please. We go now to the second quality, which is bounded optimism. And this is how to mix confidence and hope with realism. Uh, During these times, leaders must really try to project confidence. We must project confidence to all our stakeholders, to our parents, to our teachers, to our students, to our administrators, that the university, the school will find a way through this tough situation. And that is one of the key challenges of a leader during this crisis. We must project confidence. But at the same time, we must also, when we project this confidence, we must also show clearly that we recognize the crisis's uncertainty and that we must grapple with this uncertainty. So that's why our optimism is bounded. So we project confidence, but we are also humble enough to recognize the uncertainties we are facing. Next slide, please. In bounded optimism, you know that in a situation like this COVID-19 pandemic, familiar answers will not work and could even be counterproductive. And in fact, you can lose credibility with your own faculty, with your own students, with your own parents by saying that you're excessively confident, that you're really sure about what to do, or you give simple answers to difficult problems. So it's really important that you practice bounded confidence during this time, project confidence, but also recognize that the crisis is really severe, it is volatile, it is uncertain, it is ambiguous. Next slide, please. How do you do this? How do you mix confidence and hope with realism? One key thing I think is that we practice what we call meaning making, meaning making, meaning that helps everyone remember that difficult times and long hours of work serve a purpose, meaning that gives confidence, efficacy, and endurance, and can also serve as a balm if it's not the outcome that was hoped for, so that we are not so discouraged if we aim to do something and it doesn't result the way we want it to result, because the striving in and of itself was honorable. So this is very important in bounded optimism, that we do what is called meaning making. Next slide, please. Some examples of meaning making, like for example, we can set guiding principles as we are dealing with this VUCA crisis. We can say, for example, a Catholic school does what it can to assist those affected by the pandemic, and we will do what we can to try to help end the pandemic. We can say also very clearly to our stakeholders, a Catholic school prepares educational services creatively in the new normal. And we can also declare that the Catholic school will always take care of its people, its teachers, its students, its parents, its alumni, take care of the members of its community. Next slide, please. Also, I think part of meaning making, we can also set priorities that in whatever we are doing, we can say that we will maintain health and safety as a priority. We will maximize student learning and teaching as a priority. We will support our teachers and staff as a priority. And we will ensure a strong operational and financial future. We will try to manage our resources as best as we can. These are examples of what we can do to have meaning making, to try to instill confidence in our stakeholders as they work very hard to try to really manage and survive and thrive in this crisis. Next slide, please. Also, I think what's really important in strategic crisis action planning is you are really making decisions under uncertainty. And it's important that you approach each decision as a cycle. It's not linear. You have to do certain steps over and over again. And there are four steps in particular. First, you need to always pause, take time to pause and take stock. And then, second, to assess the situation from multiple vantage points. Number three, try to anticipate what is likely to happen and then act. And then after a certain period of the action, you repeat again. You pause, you assess, you anticipate, and then act. The pause button is especially important in a crisis. I was reflecting on this. I was still at Xavier, at Ateneo de Cagayan during March. And we suddenly had to, of course, lock down the campus. We suddenly had to postpone graduations. And initially we said, when we paused, we assessed it, and we said, oh, this is just a few weeks. In the past, we had a certain similar health threat, but it just only took a few weeks. So we said, let's just take our time. And then when we tried to assess it, we realized it wasn't going to be a few weeks. So we said, oh, maybe this is just 1 month or two. And so we started to plan, when would we begin our school year? How would we do remediation if we started the school year differently for grade school, for junior high school, for senior high school, for college? Then after about a few weeks of that, we realized that no, we were not going back to face in-person classes very soon. So we started to say we really need to seriously prepare for online, and what we needed to do to prepare for that. So learning platforms, management platforms, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Moodle, and all those learning platforms, the training that we need to give our teachers, trying to make sure internet access was there, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to say is that this does happen because of the uncertainty. You really need to pause several times during the crisis to assess, to anticipate, and then to act. Right now, for example, I think one of the decisions we have to take is We know that first semester is online. We are going online, and now we have to even right away. We almost have to think now: what will second semester be like? Is there a chance that we can do face to face? Will it be blended? If it is face to face, how do we do it? How will we observe the health protocols of physical distancing, disinfecting the campus, etc.? And then even as we talk about that, then we also really have to plan now about the uncertain coming school year. What will school year 2021, 2022 be like? Will it be again a cautious return to face, or will it be blended, or will it still be online? And I think that's why you really need to take these four specific steps in this decision making under uncertainty and do this often. Next slide, please. Next, okay, please click. The first one, this is now, this slide is, maybe it can't be seen clearly, so please just click it until number 8. Just continue clicking. So this one, I'm sorry, it's not very clear, I think. This one is really, these are the different areas that the school needs to think about. And we say there's a COVID-19 nerve center where there's project management, scenario planning, communication. Number one, of course, we need to think of our students, their health and safety. We need to think about enrollment and admissions. Uh, the Ateneo de Manila, for example, has just announced that we will not have our usual entrance tests, and we will just have a different way of assessing our acceptance for the coming school year. We have what is credit, what is graduation. We've had different types of online graduations and online conferment. We need to think about assessment, especially in the teaching, the support services that we need to give. Number two there is really the teaching and the research, the infrastructure support, the training on this online platform. Can we still continue to do research in this online platform? The teaching that we need to do and the assessment, that is a very important question. How do we assess the performance of our students? Number three, especially important for Catholic schools. We always say formation is very important for Catholic schools. How do we do formation in this online learning platform when we do not see our students face to face? They're not here in person. How do we continue formation activities, retreats, recollections, prayer groups, values formation in the context of an online learning platform? Number four, we need to think about our faculty and staff, their health and safety. We try to make sure that they can really work from home, they can collaborate, also their mobility. If they need to come to school, what can we provide? So we need to think about our faculty and staff. Number five, we need to think about campus operations, who can have access to the campus, health and safety provisions, incident management, technology provisions, auxiliary operations. So the campus itself. Number six, of course, is finance and legal, and this is very important. Financial stress testing, multi-scenario planning, cash management is really important. I've been told by our finance committee that the key variable, the key instrument you have to look at is cash flow. Do you have enough cash flow for your operations? During a crisis, liquidity is king. So you have to make sure that there is enough cash to sustain operations. And that can be very difficult also if revenues are not there. Number seven is we need to look at communications, internal, among our community, among our students, our faculty, our administrators, among our parents. Also external, how do we communicate with our different publics? And also our communications with the relevant government agencies, DepEd, CHED, Department of Health, the local government unit, IATF, etc. Number eight, again, because we're a Catholic school, we always have outreach, social engagement. We also need to think about that. How do we continue that essential aspect of a Catholic school, social development assistance? How do we continue to provide relief for COVID-19? And then we know also that how can we continue social formation of our students, forming their social conscience, raising their social awareness through the online learning platform. Next slide, please. Again, this is just a slide. If you look at the horizontal axis, the x-axis, this can be sort of the severity of the disruption. So here we can think about maybe from the left, you can think about the normal, and then you can start moving to the different acronyms of MGCQ, GCQ, MECQ, and ECQ as it gets harder and harder towards lockdown from low risk to lockdown. And then on the y-axis, you have the disruption of our model, our business model. So I think we can think of our business model as the face-to-face, in-person that we are used to, and then we can move up to becoming blended, and then move up to online. And maybe the extreme would be that we are really just an open university, an open education institution, fully online. And I think we need to think about these dimensions also. I think in the blue circle there, hardly anyone is here where it's business as usual. I think we are in the circle above that, which is sustaining our schools and restoring operations. And then I think for the new normal, we are moving to the circle above that. Do we really need to shift our business model of our school? Next slide, please. Again, this is just a framework of strategic crisis action planning. We begin where we are, number one, then we go develop scenarios, then we try to establish directions. Then for the direction we have chosen, we think of the strategic moves, and then we do them, number five, and then you go back to a different starting position. And as I said, the decision making under certainty is always circular. Next slide, please. For us at Xavier University and Ateneo de Manila, we have always looked at, so far, we have been considering four scenarios before we started the first semester, and we are using the same scenarios as we are planning for the next coming school year. For a base scenario, I think we really need to think of that this is based on an economic downturn. There is recession. It is hard times economically. So we need to think about that. That's always a factor. And then we said our scenario one is what if we are really fully on site, but we know that to be fully on site, we have to cautiously return because we have to practice the health protocols of distancing, of monitoring, of disinfecting and preparing our campuses and having protocols to deal with emergencies. Scenario two we thought about is really full on-site. We make a complete digital shift. It's fully off-site. It's fully online. And then number three, we had a mix on-site, off-site combination. Next slide, please. So the first one was, can we do an on-site cautious return? Of course, government has to allow this. There has to be physical distancing. We know that we might have to do shifting because we cannot have our classrooms can fill 40, but because of physical distancing, we might have to cut that down to about 20, to about half, and therefore there has to be shifting of classes. Also, alternative work arrangements required to maintain physical distancing in the offices. We might have to renovate certain places, certain common areas, build barriers, etc. So these are the things that we have to think about in this scenario of on-site cautious return. Next slide, please. Of course, the next one is really the shared understanding, the off-site, the digital shift that is needed, that we are going online. And so everybody will be off-site and all aspects, including the administrative processes, academic and non-academic, predominantly online. We are now experimenting a lot on this. Is it synchronous? Is it asynchronous? Is it a combination of both? Uh, we are trying to see, should we have smaller classes so that the teachers can pay extra attention to their students? Some of us are experimenting on should we have fewer subjects per quarter so that they can focus on just a few subjects in this new online learning platform, uh, what auxiliary services are needed, IT support, materials development support, etc., to make sure that this will work. So these are the things that you think about in this scenario of offsite online learning. Next slide, please. The next slide is this scenario of mix, in a sense that we are starting to understand that there could be waves, as we know now. There's now a second wave, a third wave of the infection. So maybe that we can go back to to some cautious return, but at a certain point we might have to go back to online and do this shift off-site and on-site back and forth. And therefore, how do we manage this? How do we manage this situation where there are different waves of the pandemic, of the infection, and we need to shift back and forth, off-site and on-site, and we need therefore to plan how we will do our classes so that the shifting back and forth is really smooth as possible. Uh, Also, in this scenario, you start to think about blended. What if we combine that there will be some classes which will be face to face, but there will be some classes that will have to be off-site and online, and how do we do that mixture? So this is that particular scenario of mixing. And this is what you do in the strategic planning. I've identified the areas and possible scenarios that we need to do. And hopefully, you always do this with deliberate, calm, and bounded optimism. Next slide, please. I go now to my third talk, part of my talk, which is the leading during this crisis, leading when there is VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Next slide, please. I divide this part into two parts. I think the leader during this time must turn outward, really try to connect with the stakeholders and the partners in the mission as much as possible. And then second, the leader must also turn inward, must really also take care of oneself in this very difficult time. So let's begin. Next slide, please. Let's begin with the turning outward to connect to others. And here, I think the key thing is communicating. You need to communicate effectively, maintain transparency, and provide frequent updates. The leadership literature talks about crisis communicators need to do five things well. Number one, give people what they need when they need it. Uh, you must understand that in a crisis, the people's information needs evolve, they change, and so should the message of the communicator should also change. Different forms of information can help listeners to stay safe, cope mentally, and connect to a deeper sense of purpose and stability. Next slide, please. Here, I think these are some examples when our employees are feeling confused or anxious, then what they need are facts, not speculation, and clear instructions for how to protect their safety. When they feel uneasy or worn down, then we need to have clarity on long-term plans, positive stories, chances to connect. When they're feeling ready for change, when they have a sense of loss, the communicators need to communicate, leaders need to communicate a new vision of the future, a chance to grieve. Next slide, please. The second thing that can be done in turning to others is in terms of communication is communicate clearly, simply, and frequently. Do not give too much, and you must communicate as simply as possible. Focus on keeping listeners safe and healthy, and it's not a problem to repeat. Number three is to choose candor over charism. Trust is never more important than a crisis. Be honest, be transparent. The leader should not be afraid to show vulnerability so that we can build transparency. Next slide, please. Also, we must revitalize resilience. As things become more difficult, we need to communicate by accentuating the positive and strengthening the communal bonds to restore confidence. Number five, I think the crisis communicator must distill meaning from chaos. That meaning making that we talked about, that we say that this crisis will end and we help people make sense of what has happened. We establish a clear vision or a mantra of how the organization and its people will emerge. Next slide, please. Um, we also need to really turn towards others to connect with others, students, parents, faculty, staff, administrators. We need to, when we turn to them, we have to demonstrate empathy because it's really a stressful time, even tragic. We ask questions, we listen a lot, and we prioritize health and well being. Next slide, please. So we listen, alleviate their fear and anxiety. We try to really be aware of what they're feeling, and we try to show them empathy and compassion. Next slide, please. In this connection towards others, I think the important thing is we need to bring our school community together, teachers, administrators, faculty, staff, our parents, our alumni together so we can move forward. And there are five things that we can do: develop perspective on the situation, foster belonging, number two. Third, take care of our people, tune in to our stakeholders. And number five, reimagine and plan the post crisis future. Next slide, please. So the first one, developing perspective. I think we really need to give our communities, our stakeholders, moments to breathe and set the tone for such healing, and realize that we don't have, no leader has all the answers. And we provide safe workplace forums for our teachers to express emotions, to share their stress, their anxiety, and to refocus on the work and the mission. I know that many schools are already doing this. We have now what's Zoomustahan. We spend time just to using online, using Zoom or using Google Meet to do kumustahan. Uh, some departments in the Ateneo are using what they call e-numan, E for electronic. They come together just to share stories, catch up with each other, not always just focus on the work that needs to be done online, the classes need to be prepared, but just a time just to connect with each other personally and share how they are feeling, where they are. And that's really important. We need to give perspective, develop perspective, and set the tone for healing and supporting each other. Next slide, please. We need to do foster belonging and inclusion. Uh, People can often feel they're in the same storm with others, but they do not feel that they are in the same boat. We need to make sure that all our stakeholders feel joined together in the crisis. We make sure that people feel heard and included, enable individuals to freely express themselves, and have a feeling, try to develop a sense of community, inclusivity, trust, and belonging. Next slide, please. The third one is really taking care of our people. We've said this often. We have to show first, we understand, show empathy and compassion. We understand the feelings of our teachers, of our administrators. We also expand concerns about their own families. Uh, and that we try to, as much as we can, show compassionate acts to further a mutual supportive community. Encourage the support that employees give to each other. Next slide, please. Of course, taking care of people is really practical gestures as much as we can, some extended leave, some additional sick days, expanded health coverage, assuring educational benefits for their children, relief assistance. I think we need to address this, and I know how difficult this is, especially if the financial situation is very strained. As much as we can, we try to take care of our people. And then number five, next slide, please, is to tune in to our stakeholders, be in touch with the students, the parents, the faculty, the staff, the trustees, and that always try to make sure that we are on the same page. We reconfirm what our objectives are, and we generate buy-in in what we are doing. So if we say we're going online, that we try to get everybody's support in this effort. And of course, I think you know this already. You have to meet often, very frequent meetings, regular online fora with faculty, with students, with your management teams, with your president's councils. just to be always be in touch, and in a very fast changing situation, you are really in touch, and you are on the same page with each other. Next slide, please. The fifth one is really to reimagine a post-crisis next normal, um, that we refocus from trauma and look ahead to a better future. We try to also channel that we pull together and work together to build a desirable future, and the leaders need to ignite hope, create an image of a future organization where people will be excited about. We know that there is life post COVID. There is our schools will not only survive post COVID, but will even thrive because of this pandemic. And we need to give that hope. Next slide, please. And of course, I think as Catholic schools, we really have our North Star. Our North Star is really our mission and identity as Catholic schools. And we need to be able to reimagine this and say, this Catholic schools' mission and identity is so important that this will still be valid in the next normal, that we will still continue to try to serve the Catholic mission of the school and also try to promote the Catholic identity of the school even in this next normal that is still unclear, but we are sure that we will strive and we will flourish because we are always guided by this North Star of our mission and identity. Next slide, please. I go now to the second aspect of leading during the crisis. We talked about turning outward. We talked about reaching out to our stakeholders and the importance of communication and the different things we need to do as we turn outward to our stakeholders. But there's also a very important aspect in leadership during a crisis, and that is really self care. And here I'd like to just briefly mention five things we can do for self care. We need to adapt your own what's called the personal operating model. You need to manage our energies. We need to practice reflection. We need to practice gratitude daily and often. And we need to open ourselves to other expressions of care from other people. Next slide, please. The daily operating model, again, I'm sorry, it's not so clear, but here it's really try to bring together different aspects. What are our priorities? Number one, what is the purpose, my personal aspirations, what are the values that are important to me, what are the principles important to me. You have to think about your roles at work, your role in your, if you're religious, in your religious community or in your family, your different friendships, the close friends that you need you can get support from and give support to. You need to think about work, how to create win-win situations. And as leaders during a crisis, you need to be inspirational, be a role model, be able to inspire individuals and teams to build capabilities and competence. The third element in this operating model is time. You have to be present, make sure that you are organized in your schedule. You need to be efficient on your time management in what you will do. We all know because of Zoom and because of online meetings, we are having more meetings now, much more than usual because of the easy technology that's there. And I also noticed that the meetings are getting longer and longer. So we need to be more efficient in managing that. And then also we need to make the right trade-offs. What are the priorities that you want to attend to? Number four in the operating model is your energy. You need to manage your energy to be self-aware and have practices that have good work-life balance, taking care of our physical needs, sleep, nutrition, exercise, taking care of our mind, mindfulness, emotional flexibility. We have time for some space for renewal and for caring for others and belonging. So again, just a simple way to try to organize our own self in our effort for self-care. Next slide, please. Of course, we mentioned this already, managing your energy, balancing work needs with your own physical well-being. In a crisis, you really need recovery time. You cannot just be on the go 24/7 because burnout is very real. You need to have some recovery time, both physically, mentally, and psychologically. Otherwise, then you will not be effective as a leader. Uh, of course, there are certain practices that we can always do: prayer, meditation, breathing exercise, and even taking power naps, good siestas, just to refresh yourselves in the middle of the day. So, managing energy is part of self care. Next slide, please. Then there is also, of course, practicing reflection. We reflect daily about critical situations that happened during the day. What moments were difficult? Why? And how did you feel? Why did you respond that way? Reflection also allows you to see the big picture. Reflection allows you to see why do you react in this way and what provokes you, what are its drivers. It's also helpful to ask trusted friends, colleagues to give you feedback about critical moments and how you respond under pressure. I write this and I always remember our Jesuit, our Ignatian practice of examen. This is what examen is. It's really going over your day and trying to find out where was God present in your life, what are the challenges, and how did you respond with God's help. Practicing reflection. Next slide, please. Of course, again, this is part of the examen. I think it's very important in self care that we really practice gratitude often. Gratitude, we know, really is very good for our mental health. It renews our energy and our hope. There are ways that we can practice gratitude. We can keep a gratitude journal. We have a gratitude letter to some people. We can make sure we say thank you sincerely to someone who has helped us at least once a day. So again, this is very much part of the examen that we know about in our spiritual practice, that we need to give thanks for the many graces and blessings we have received. And this is good for our mental health and for our spiritual health also. Next slide, please. And again, I think part of self care is that we also are open to other people expressing support for us, others' expressions of care, opening ourselves to their empathy, to their compassion. We can share our emotions to them in response to their caring words. And we know that we have to maintain our own emotional stability, we can build a close support network. Um, I'm always grateful as a Jesuit that I have a Jesuit community that I can always come home to. In the university, I am president, but I know that when I go home to the Jesuit residence, I am a brother. I am one of friends in the Lord, and I know that I can express myself and share what I feel, share friendship, relax, be with people who share the same mission, the same values, the same ideals. And that's very important, I think, that we have that close support network that can be provided by families or by our community. But it's very important that we give time to that and we open ourselves to that expressions of care. Next slide, please. So let me end with these slides. I'd like to talk about the fourth part. There is a spirituality of crisis leadership. And thinking about this, I'm always struck that Pope Francis often speaks of the God of surprises. In his first interview, when he was elected, one of his first interviews, he said that he often speaks of this God of surprises. And I think as a good Jesuit, he learned this from our father, Saint Ignatius Loyola, because for Saint Ignatius, God is always Deus semper major, God who is always greater. That is the God of Ignatius, and that is our God, God of surprises, a God who always surprises us, a God who is always greater. Why? Because his thoughts and his ways, his love and his dreams are always beyond ours. We are always we always have a God who will always surprise us because he is Deus semper major. Next slide, please. And therefore, in this spirituality of crisis leadership, I think during this crisis, we are really invited to open spaces in our hearts for the ever greater God, to listen to the God of surprises, to allow this God to lead us out of our comfort zones to greater freedom, greater service, deeper joy. I think this is really the spirituality that we are asked for. invited to practice during this time of VUCA, when it is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We need to open our hearts, open spaces in our hearts for the ever greater God. We need to listen to the God of surprises. And we need to allow this God to lead us out of our comfort zones, to what we are used to our favorite business as usual. To lead us out of that, because if we follow His lead, He will lead us to greater freedom, greater service, and deeper joy. Next slide, please. Of course, in the end, I think we can always turn to Mary, our mother, in this spirituality of crisis leadership, because she too is really a model. I think we can say that Mary's life is an open ended yes to life as it unfolds. She was told that she would be the mother of God. She was told that Elizabeth, her cousin, her old cousin, was suddenly pregnant. She was told to suddenly go into exile in Egypt. When she tries to look for her adult son, her adult son tells her that, who is my mother, who is my brother, my sister? It is not my biological mother, but the ones who listen to the word of God and keep it. And yet Mary always has this open-ended yes to that. She is there at the foot of the cross as Jesus is suffering, and she is there in the famous image of the Pieta as she holds the dead body of her son. She is there when her risen son is risen again and makes her appearance to her. And her response was always an open-ended yes to life as it unfolds. And I think her life teaches us that God will ceaselessly surprise us. God is a God of surprises. And Mary teaches us that God will always surprise us, never-endingly surprise us. But Mary also teaches us that God will always be present with us amidst all the surprises. And that is where we gain courage, we gain hope, we gain inspiration, because even though it is uncertain, it is volatile, it is complex, it is ambiguous, we know God will always be present with us amidst all the surprises if we say yes to Him, if we are open in our hearts to this God of surprises, if we are willing to be led by this God beyond our comfort zones towards greater freedom, greater service, and deeper joy. Daghang salamat. My last slide here is I'd like to acknowledge that most of the leadership qualities and analysis, I use the materials from McKinsey & Company. I give the web link there. These are not my original thoughts. I have found the work of McKinsey very helpful. So I give that acknowledgement and I put that reference there. But I'd like to end now. Daghang salamat for listening, and I can take any questions or comments or suggestions. Maraming salamat po. God bless us all.
are back. Welcome to the question and answer portion of this webinar. Before that, let me inform you that the PowerPoint slides of all webinars are available at the CEAP website at www.ceap.org.ph, ready for downloading. No? So you can access all the slides there. Right after the talks, we will upload them. Father, before we give you the questions, let us give a shout out to all those who are watching us. Marami po kasing nagsha-shout out, like Monsignor Mike Veneracion, greetings from Cabanatuan Catholic Educational System in the Diocese of Cabanatuan. Hi, Father Bobby from Attorney Faye Bello, our legal counsel. Um, Greetings from the University of St. Louis with Father Neil Santa Ana there in Tuguegarao. No? Hello sa mga taga St. Louis. From Thomas Aquinas College of Sogod in Maasin, Southern Leyte. Hello to the staff and faculty. Marami pong nag-hello sa atin. Let me read. Anyway, we have a lot of time. Let me read them. Good morning from Loyola High School, from Holy Cross College of Davao City. Hello to our friends in Hinundayan Catholic Institute in Southern Leyte, in St. Mary's Academy of Carmen, Cagayan de Oro, watching from Loyola High School, Olutanga, watching from Holy Cross of Malalag. Hello. Ito, Father. We also have viewers from Government Boys Higher Secondary School in Jaiwatra, Satna Pradesh, India. Wow, meron tayong all the way from India, no? And then from La Consolacion College, Bacolod. A shout out also to St. Louis High School of Antamok, Ukban, Itogon, Benguet. Christ the King College in Mandaring, Iligan, Diocese of Iligan. Watching from Ormoc City, Commonwealth, Quezon City, Coron, Palawan, St. Augustine Academy, Marinol High School of Asuncion in the Asuncion, Davao del Norte, from USJR Balamban, Cebu, from La Consolacion College, Bais, Negros Occidental, from Santa Monica Academy, Pinamungahan, Cebu. Maayong buntag from Cosca, Dumaguete City. From Abulog, Cagayan Valley, Lyceum of Abulog, Cagayan Valley. Divine Word College of San Jose, Mindoro Occidental. OLPCC San Agustin Campus. SDO Mandaluyong. Decor Carmeli Academy, Zamboanguita, Negros Oriental. From Alaminos INHS Laguna. Those are our viewers from YouTube, no? And then we have other greetings from Facebook naman. Okay, Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy in Mati. We have St. Andrew's Archdiocesan School of Candaba, Augustinian Recollect Sisters in Cebu, St. Columban College in Pagadian City, St. Mary's College of Marinduque, St. Louis High School of Antamok, La Consolacion Bacolod, St. Mary's Academy in Carmen, Columbia St. Michael's Parish High School, St. Mary's Academy of Ligao, St. Teresa's College in Tandag, St. James Catholic High School in Maasin, Iloilo, Immaculate Heart of Mary Academy in Mati, Stella Maris in Oroquieta, San Sebastian College, Recoletos, Manila, St. Paula Learning Center, Cogtong, Claret College, Isabela, Basilan, St. Mary's College, Caloocan, Guagua National Colleges in Guagua, Pampanga, Assumption Academy in Mawab, Loyola High School, Olutanga, nag-hello na rin sila doon sa YouTube. St. Agnes Academy in Legazpi, hello. Sina Sister Celine yan. Junior High School, STC, Tandag City, St. Mary's University, Bayombong, Nueva Vizcaya, St. Gabriel Academy, Blessed Trinity Elementary School in Talibon, Lourdes College, Cagayan de Oro. Oh, Father, mga kaibigan mo to sa Cagayan. Dominican School of Cebu. All right. So yun yung mga friends natin. Now let me um read some of the greetings, Father, from Sister Jesnen Porras. Very fluid and relaxed ang inyong presentation, but very significant and really helpful insights for us in the small school. Now, Father, from Alicia Javier, Father Yap, thank you very much for your sharing. Very informative and relevant. Very practical too and realistic. God bless you, Father. From Peter Rufino Baltasar, nice to hear from you, Father. You are really one of a kind leader and a visionary leader in character. Okay, so, Father, are you ready to take questions now?
Sure, sure.
Sige. Um, maybe we can start with, while the questions are still coming in, no? Maybe we can start from your own experience, no, Father? Especially because you moved from Xavier University to Ateneo de Manila University in the middle of this pandemic, no? So, VUCA world was very real to you. So can you share with us your experience during this time of change in your life and in the life of the Ateneo de Manila University? I am sure you needed a lot of deliberate calm and bounded optimism during this period of change in leadership. Maybe you can share with us some anecdotes. Did you pause, assess, anticipate before you acted? Can you share with us?
Sige. Certainly, it was, again, that's why I like the image of God of surprises. It's really, this is not what I planned. I had a great exit plan for Save from Savior. Uh, in fact, in March, I already planned I would finish graduations, and I would go away and take a break for to rest for a while, because I know that I was supposed to start in Manila in June, and so I would take a break, go away. In fact, take a trip outside the country to rest, and then after I came back in May, I would pack my things and come here. I had already had my briefings with my transition with my successor, Father Marstan at Xavier University.
Oh,
So that was set. And then also I had my briefings ready for the Manila long before to plan. But of course, everything, all of that got thrown out in March suddenly. And it was really that. It was suddenly your roadmap, your script, you have to throw out of the window and you have to go almost day by day and try to really look for the best lights and what do we do now. And what I described, that process of pausing and assessing
yeah.
and act and analyzing from different vantage points, and then doing planning a new action, that's really true. You have to do that often. As I shared, I still remember that I was still at Xavier, and we said, "Oh, this is not going to be a long time. In a few weeks, this will be solved,
Over.
go back to normal. So let's just relax." And then you realize that it wasn't, and so we say, "Okay, let's try to plan, and maybe we can say, we can open not in June, but maybe we can open in July, face to face, and what do we need to prepare?" And we did very detailed planning. My management team at Xavier really did a lot of planning. That okay, we'll open in July, etc. And then as it developed, again, you pause, you assess again, and you say, no, it's not. We really have to go online, and we have to prepare for that. And then you start to prepare, and then you face the problems. No, bandwidth. Do people have bandwidth? Do people have gadgets? Do our teachers have gadgets? Bandwidth. How do we train quickly, speedily? How do we do training and all that? So again, yeah, you have to move that way, and you start. And I said you have to be bounded optimism. When you do all of this, and let me just be transparent, when you do this in public, you have to project confidence that
Yeah.
we can do this. But of course, deep down, you're not really that sure that you can do this. Whether we really know what online delivery really means and what this concerns, we continue to grapple with it. Like, for example, how do we really do assessment? How do we make sure that they're really learning the competencies, etc. Um, but you have to project confidence, because if you're nervous and you show your nervousness and your doubt, then everybody in the community will not will also be anxious. So you have to do that bounded optimism. But you also, again, the same way, you cannot also just be simplistic and say, no, this is simple. You cannot also do that. So it's really a tightrope and a balance that you have to do. And as I moved to the Manila, I was extended, actually.
Oh,
Agreed that
okay.
I was supposed to come here in June in the Manila, and we said that it's such an unusual time. So my predecessor in the Manila, Father Jet Villarin,
Yeah.
we agreed, and with our trustees, we
July 31 yata ang naging transition niya, no? Sa the Feast of Ignatius?
June 1.
Ah, June 1.
But we decided na, sige, we'll extend it 2 more months. Let's see what happens. And so we did. And so I came here 2 months later than usual. And Father Jet held the fort for a while. I came here and I had to do quarantine. And
Oh yeah, 14 days. Kasi galing kayo sa ibang province.
difference is uh, Cagayan de Oro has been in MGCQ for since July.
Hmm.
The people working inside the campus. Our university chapel, our church is already open for masses. Limited number, I think 50%, but it's
Ah,
open,
yeah.
and so you saw people. That's what I think surprised me a lot when I got here to the Manila. It's a much bigger campus, and I walk around. I say it's like a ghost town.
Oh yeah.
it's so it's so quiet, and but you know that it's really online. People are working from home, etc. So all of that, and that's why I like to end with the spirituality.
Yeah.
You really pray more during this crisis. You really pray more to give you confidence in the face of discouragement, courage when there are trials, there are challenges, that there are no easy answers, and uh, there's always anxiety, but you try to keep calm about it,
Yeah.
and that calm is that's a grace. It's not something
True.
you just will it and it happens. No, I think it's a grace. Sometimes you're surprised how calm you reacted when this happened or that happened. But
True.
prayer is very important. It continues to be challenging, as I was trying to share. We already we just begun first semester at in our college in Ateneo de Manila, and we're already talking about what will second sem be like, because we need to plan.
Yes.
And it's still very difficult, and it looks like it's most likely online still. So we need to continue to improve our online delivery. We need to continue to do the in-service training that we need to give to our teachers so that they can become more adept at online. And we need to also encourage our students to what are the right attitudes to have to be able to survive online.
Yeah, so far, Father, what has been your greatest challenge in when you transition to Ateneo de Manila? Na ano yung pinaka-challenge mo ngayon na hinarap? Like when you went to Ateneo de Manila already.
Uh, it's really making sure that the online system is effective,
Yeah.
and trying to do what we can. So there was a lot of work even before me about in Ateneo. We prepared what's called the Ateneo Blue Cloud. That's
Blue
our
Cloud.
campus, developing that, and we had a lot of seminars, and so we had to go through all these debates. How much should it be asynchronous? How much
Yeah.
should it be synchronous? And then you realize it's not one size fits all. Uh,
Yeah.
the math teachers, for example, say uh, you cannot have too much asynchronous in math because
In
they need
math.
to use pencil and paper and calculate, and they need the teacher in front of them. So other subjects that are can be more asynchronous than asynchronous. So all these more detailed adjustments you have to make, that there are no one size fits all.
So, ang dami nga talagang meetings as you said, no? You have to meet them more frequently.
One other
Right?
is really, I think, for Catholic schools is we need to continue formation.
Oh,
We
yeah.
need to be able to continue to be able to give retreats, recollections, some prayer sessions, some
Counseling services.
counseling services,
Yeah.
and how do you organize that online and
Online.
visit?
And how did you? How did Ateneo do it?
Well, there's still, we're still trying to do online recollections and trying to organize those. We have what are called formation classes, uh, uh, certain courses that try to introduce people to Ignatian spirituality, and so those continue. Even the service learning, for example, somehow get continued more now. It's also delivered online. Like we help a public school, but we help them through online, online tutoring, online teacher training. So there's a lot of creativity that has to come in also. But again, it's for me that's been the big challenge is how do we make sure we maintain Catholic identity, and that this is the mark. This is an important part of a Catholic school. It's not just academic instruction. It's also formation. It's social involvement, social awareness, social concern. But how do you do that when it's not face to face?
Yeah. Well, Father, yeah. Speaking of that identity and mission thing, no, that should be our north star. There are a couple of questions here from Father from Belia Proceso Maniago. Father Bobby, thank you so much. How did you manage the tensions between taking care of your people and the financial crisis? Kasi medyo, ano yun, di ba? Eh, taking care of your people entailed a lot of monetary, ano.
Yeah, it's a real tension,
Mm,
and there's really no easy answer to it. Um, the thing was in the beginning, especially, we said that because we didn't know how long it will be, so we said that okay, we continue to give, to pay salaries even though there's not real work because they were not yet working from home
yeah.
or
So you really couldn't do the no work, no pay, ano? Hindi siya
um,
masyadong
in the beginning.
palatable, yeah.
No, but then when you realize it was going on, we said, now, as I mentioned very briefly, from a financial point of view, it's cash flow that's really important. You have
Yeah.
to ensure that there is cash flow, and therefore you have to watch carefully revenue, and you have to watch therefore enrollment.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to keep on dialoguing and preparing the work the staff, the
Mhm.
faculty, the teachers, that for example, some teachers, we said that especially those who were part-time or contractual, that we can't guarantee work for you if there's no enrollment.
Oh, okay. And how did the personnel react to this?
You have to communicate it early and clearly that that's the norm, and so we work hard and prepare for enrollment. um, and then also, so it's sort of clear policies that guide us, and try
Mm,
to communicate it as clearly and as frequently as possible. uh,
yeah.
for example, I think the difficulty with the staff, for example, in work from home, is that there's really work that you cannot do from home,
Yes, yes.
like
Especially when you need the papers from school, no? Yung mga ano,
maintenance people,
finance, yeah.
uh, lab technicians when there are no lab classes,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
things like that, coaches.
So
That
did you have to like lay off a lot of people or
there, you look for ways, like for example, you tell them that uh, try to use up your leaves first, and then
okay.
once gone, then we can do flexible work arrangements. Um, but as I say, it's not an easy thing. This one I really sympathize with the administrators in this conference. They
Yeah.
know it's not easy because these are people who are very loyal, very hardworking, who share the mission.
Yeah.
But the reality also is uh, it's not the resources are finite. Maybe there's not enough, and you try to make sure that you will survive financially
Yeah.
with it. But the key thing again is dialogue and
It's
communication.
how sometimes it's how you say it, no, and how you make them feel that you really care, but
Yes,
your hands are tied. That's where you say candor more than charisma.
yes, yes.
Yeah, Father. So you said earlier, ignite hope. No, there is life after COVID. No, but like a lot of administrators now, like when we were doing an online enrollment and they weren't meeting their enrollment targets, they would tell us, "Nagpapakamatay na yata ako. Wala pa kaming enrollment. Magsasara na kami." So how do you actually sow hope during this time when everything feels, very hopeless, when the situation feels hopeless?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I focus a lot on the quality of the online because we have to make sure that we can deliver that well and that we are still. Our mantra, for example, is that this is as good as the face to face. And that's
Mm,
an ideal we
okay.
set for ourselves. We know that it's a big ideal, but we're telling our parents, we're telling our students, this is as good as face to face. And we will do our best to make it as good as face to face. We know that, of course, in some aspects we will not reach that, but that's what we aim for. And that we will continue to deliver this quality Ateneo education that we promise. And I think that's how um, we build hope, and the way I try to phrase it in Ateneo Manila now is that we really become resilient as a
Yeah.
university. That resilience not in the sense of like the bamboo bends and then it goes back into shape and that's
Yeah.
it went back. I'm saying no, resilience here is much more than that. It's not going back to business as usual. It's not going back to pre-COVID, but it is really resilience, meaning we become stronger under the pressure. That
Yeah.
Ateneo becomes much better in spite the pandemic and because of the pandemic.
Nice.
That when if the future is blended and we're not sure, but if it's really blended, then we will be able to do blended very well because of this experience.
Okay.
So that's the other idea, that we try to instill hope that we will become better because of the pressure that COVID of this VUCA situation has forced us into.
Yeah. So becoming better, no, not losing
Yeah.
to the pandemic. Yeah, Father. So kayo situation na yan ng Ateneo, that is a big school. From Mary Jean Indino Ibanez, sabi niya, small schools right now are greatly affected. Yeah, how can big Catholic schools be a partner in this time of crisis? Parang nag-SOS yata sila sa mga schools na kagaya ninyo. Father, do you have anything to say?
I think one initiative of CEAP is very important right now, the sharing of educational resources. That's one of the things of this online platform, that we can actually reach more people, right? Because we are
Yes.
and I think if we can find a way that we can really share the resources together, uh, there are certain issues like intellectual property
Yeah.
and things like that. But they're not unsolvable issues, and I think especially with SEAP as a platform, then I think we can reach out to more Catholic schools,
Yeah.
especially learning materials, but also what I said about formation. That maybe we can share best practices on how we are handling formation. I'm amazed at the creativity of our campus ministry offices in the different Ateneos of how they can continue to give recollections and
Yeah.
presentations with their students and with their teachers.
On an online platform, ano?
Share those, then uh, that would be certainly be important. So
Yeah,
that's one way that we can uh, really pull together and help each other.
So, yeah, no? So, yeah, we heard that Ateneo is participating in OER through our National Higher Education Commission,
Yeah.
Father. So, we look forward to greater collaboration with Ateneo de Manila on this.
In fact,
And maybe, yes,
today,
po.
people, there's the math department. We just signed MOAs with DepEd, Marikina, Mandaluyong, and Quezon City. Our math department has developed this math application, these math apps that teach math for K to 12, from grade 1 to 12. Uh, and it's web based, it's an application that helps them with exercises. And it was through a government grant, a DOST grant, but we're sharing it, and things like that we can certainly make available to also to Catholic schools to say up. So
Yeah.
it's that part of helping each other that will be able to reach out. And as I say, uh, even the groups who work here, like our Department of Mathematics, our SALT, our Science and Art of Learning and Teaching with Father Johnny Go, they always say that they also learn a lot when they interact with the different schools and with the public schools in general. So certainly
Wow.
that we would like to be able to continue to do.
Thank you. Nako, Father, we look forward to that, no? And also yung best practices sharing nyo with the National Christian Formation Commission naman.
Yes.
And yeah. Anyway, we have a member, si Cholo Santos of your campus ministry, is also helping us in the National Christian Formation Commission.
Mm.
So, pwede tayong mag-team up. Okay, Father, more questions. Actually, I am not sure if you want to answer this. This is more on sa classroom, no? How do we administer assessment of our learners in this situation, online and modular? Hindi siya masyado on leadership. Do you want to answer?
Yeah, I think that's an area, in fact, for best practice sharing. I really
Mhm.
also don't have a clear answer. But I
Yeah.
think if we come together, if SEAP can organize fora, discussion groups, webinars on this, where people just share, there are many ideas. Like some people are saying we need to see them one on one, do
Mhm.
oral exams, things like
Ay
that. And then of course other things like different types of projects. But I think I think that's one area that we can really come together and help each other figure out, because that is a challenge. It's
yeah.
something that we in Ateneo and at Xavier University worry about, that how will we do assessment.
Assessment, no? Very difficult at this time.
We're really worried about is laboratories, the lab classes. We've
Mm.
realized that for science, the Science 101, the labs can be done. There are videos, demonstrations. But if you're a science major, like a BS Chem, BS Physics, you do need to do face-to-face, in-person lab experiment.
Yeah, oo. Mahirap naman kung nasa harap ka ng camera, no? And you don't have all the equipment, the lab. Yeah.
Tapos, how do we do that? And we're afraid actually that some of them might not graduate because these subjects can be offered. So, so again, if we have ideas to help that, that be a very good topic.
Okay, so I think after the CEAP Congress, we have a lot of collaborative activities with Ateneo de Manila and CEAP and all our other schools here, no? Father, this one from Novelia Camba. How can we apply the SWOT analysis in our daily task in teaching at this time of the pandemic?
It's a very good question. Actually, before the pandemic, both Xavier, Ateneo de Cagayan, and Ateneo de Manila was in the process of finalizing the strategic plan for 2030, 2033. Um, and so with that, and we were almost ready to formalize it already, put it on, print it out in nice paper and all that. Then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And our thinking now is, if you understand strategic planning is you do first an environmental scan. You do the SWOT. You
Mm,
do
yeah.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And what we have said is, actually with COVID and this emerging new normal, which is still unclear, uh, the the opportunities and threats have changed or will be significantly modified.
Yeah.
And therefore, our strengths and weaknesses are also will have to be
Mm.
reformulated.
Correct.
So what we are saying now is it's very clear to us that what we have done pre-COVID might not be valid anymore or will have to be revisited and
Revisited. Yeah.
we'll really look at it again to say, is this still valid? Um, and so we have to do that and then perhaps formulate a revised strategic plan because the SWOT has changed. The SWOT has changed. Our concern now is I do not think anybody really has a good sense of what the opportunities and threats really are.
Yeah.
In some sense, it's too early.
And
The
you don't know how long this will last, this
Yes.
entire.
So that's a difficulty. Yesterday we had a meeting with my president's council, and we said, how do we plan the budget for next year, next school year? Uh, but, and it was really hard to answer because we don't know what next school year will be like. Will it still be online? Will
Yeah.
it be
On
blended?
site, yeah.
Be some face to face, limited? And there are different implications for that. It's the same thing with the strategic planning. We need to understand the opportunities and threats, and so the most we have at this point is maybe let's invite thought leaders to speculate, to give us educated analysis of what the threats are, the opportunities are, what the new normal in education might be.
Okay.
Is to start us thinking, but to be able to say these are really this is the SWOT that we have, and therefore we plan. I think it's too unrealistic. It's not it's not possible at this point.
Yeah, mahirap
This is again something that SEAP might think about. If you can invite thought leaders
Yeah.
about what the possible next normal
Next normal is, yeah.
opportunity.
Actually, we are going to have we will have to revisit our strategic plan also. We just revisited it last year, but kailangan na ulit, no? So, yeah, and maybe we can come together with thought leaders who can tell us, who can
Yes,
point us to the next normal.
that can help us in our own analysis what the SWOT is.
Yeah. Father, here, let me read some comments, no? Thank you, Father Bobby. I would just like to ask, this is from Samuel Damayon. I would just like to ask how we should approach students who are academic achievers, and yet it is clear that they have a sense of leadership, but they are so focused on their academics that they do not involve themselves in extracurricular activities. They are not opening spaces for others due to their academic preoccupation, especially at this time. You want to comment on that, Father?
I think that's a very important question for Catholic schools, as I said, because formation is really important for us. Whole person education, right? We say we want to educate the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. Uh, and so, therefore, it's not only the academic excellence that we do, um, and and in the normal pre-COVID, what we would do is we give as much support and encouragement to co-curricular, extracurricular activities, the different student orgs, the different leadership training that we give, and we put importance to it, um, and uh, and also even celebrate the successes. At Savior, for example, in Cagayan de Cagayan, we around graduation time we actually have two ceremonies,
Oh,
the graduation where we honor the academic people, the cum laudes and all
yeah.
that, but there's also the night before or 2 nights before we honor the student leaders who have achieved in the
Oh,
co-curricular and extracurricular, and it's a very elaborate ceremony where you celebrate that also, so to sort of to give importance. So those are the things that we do. You try to attach a lot of importance to it, to give a sense to the students that yes, this is also an important aspect of their education.
correct.
The challenge now for us again is if it's an online platform, how do we do that? How do
Yeah,
we?
actually, there is the next question that I was going to ask you from Jonald and Daya. What other activities or programs can we give our students apart from the learning activities? Kasi parang as it is, masikip na yung learning activities nila, father.
That's right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, like at Xavier, I know that I think it's this week or next. They've resumed. They have a leadership training program for the student leaders. That's usually done in pre-COVID. They go to a retreat house or a seminar center, and they have all sorts of games, and they do an overnight or 2 nights together, whole day. So it's a real workshop seminar. Now, I think they're going to do it online, and we will see how whether it's the same and whether it will be as effective. But you have to do it. You have to
We
promote
have to be very creative in our online activities these days, no?
this. On the other hand, also the online has also other possibilities not possible. Like here in Ateneo, for example, we were able to invite Father James Martin, the famous Jesuit.
Wow, yeah,
He's in New York, but you can invite him now to be speaker because it's all Zoom, it's all online. So,
correct. Iba lang ang time zone.
and then you can also use a lot of online materials like videos and
True.
sort of things that you can use that were not usually available. So it's trying to make the best out of what we have.
Yeah. Make the best of what we have. That's very nice. So some commendations here, Father, from Sister Gina Payos, CM. You are a man of God, Father Yap. Yes, in the end, a Catholic school leader must be strongly connected with God, the source of all wisdom. Thank you, CEAP. You have chosen the right person for this very important talk. Keep safe, everyone. And then from our National Higher Education Commission Chair, the trustee of Region 6, from Father Jobert Villasis, thank you for affirming what we're doing in the NHEC. Can you please join us in the National Higher Education Commission? O Father, ha? Meron kang online invitation from Father Jobert Villasis, the chair of our commission.
Okay.
And then here, Father, it's again on assessment, but there's an added question from Amelia Toralba. What assessment process and grading system you recommend in this new normal using this kind of online platform? So apart from assessment, how do we grade?
Um, yeah, as I said, it really depends on the subject, on the course, and also on the grade level. Um, I think mostly there's some courses where you can really just do reflection papers, for example. They write a paper, but you do have to meet them one on one to make sure that they're the ones who wrote it.
Correct.
You have a sense that they understood what was written. So there are extra things you have to do to be able to do that. I'm also told, for example, that there's software now that can where you can administer exams, and they can really be in a controlled environment
Yeah.
where they cannot check or consult other books or notes or anything like that. I've heard that there's software being developed that way. So again, there are many things that can be done, I think, but it is something that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, correct. Actually, they were saying that there's a software now that when you take your exam, you're facing the camera, and if your eyes just go a little, drift away from the camera, wrong na yung answer mo kasi cheating na daw yon. May mga ganun daw, Father. Okay. Other questions here. Hold on. Where's that? From Sister Precious Kolog, RVM. Thank you, Father, for sharing to us with us your knowledge. How effective is the social and spiritual formation of our students since students are met online? How could it benefit those who have no access to the internet?
Yes, that's a real hard question. No thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the online. Well, in some sense, Father Tabora, for example, as an advocacy to what he calls internet democracy, to making sure that internet's more available more widely. It's a big effort, I think, that involves government and private sector and things like that. So that's one way. But yes, it's a real challenge, and in fact, that was one of the difficulties that we have, especially I think not so much here in Metro Manila, but for example in Xavier, Cagayan de Oro, we really knew that there were some areas of Cagayan or even outside Cagayan de Oro, like people in Bukidnon or in other places that where internet access was really difficult,
Yeah.
and it, it's really a limitation that we have to face. So um, we try to provide gadgets as much as possible, try to give what you call this Wi-Fi sticks that can allow them. But again, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge that everybody is facing, and I think that's in fact for the public schools. I think that is a really big challenge, especially in the provinces.
Yeah. Okay, more greetings here, Father. Muchísimas gracias, Padre, from Sister Hedelin Bueno. Your talk was very consoling and uplifting with very doable practices, actions, and suggestions, knowing that we have a God who is a God of surprises. Practicing reflection and strengthening spirituality in these trying times are needed most to overcome this pandemic. It's okay sometimes not to be okay. It will lead us to deeper reflection, closer to God, and bring it back to Him, for we don't have all the answers that God has. Wow. No, talagang parang all our leaders, parang yung the image nga when you were talking about the deliberate calm, Father, parang inisip ko parang duck. 'Di ba? They look so calm on the outside, but actually underneath they're madly paddling to keep afloat. Parang ganun that you have to look calm kahit na medyo you're very insecure inside.
Yeah, in
From the
the
yes,
I've learned that's really grace. It's a gift. You do not get it from your own resources.
yeah.
It's really a blessing that God gives you this calmness amidst the very rough waters.
Yeah, no, grabe. Okay, thank you very much, Father Yap from Diza Rolida, for the very relevant sharing about spirituality of crisis leadership. It is a reminder for us, especially in these trying times of COVID-19. And then from Monica Navarro, thank you, Father Yap and SEAP staff for the super productive virtual convention. Indeed, the topic discussed by Father Yap is really eye opener to all leaders, especially to us religious leaders, that we do not just spiritualize this crisis. There is a need of coming up with a resilience plan to prevent the worst possible global scenario. Maraming salamat po. Ano?
Thank you.
So marami talaga tayong hinaharap ngayon. So Father, what do you foresee in the next normal for for Ateneo, for us Catholic schools, no? In marami nang nagsara na Catholic schools. How do you assess the situation? Napag-isipan niyo na po ba ito?
Pag-isipan, pero there are also no clear answers. I think the things I learned here is again that the humility to be able to admit that you don't know and not to be afraid to do that. I think there we can certainly prepare for certain things, and one thing that I'm sure of is that the the new normal is not business as usual. We are not going back to
We're never going back to the old normal, Father, 'di ba? I don't think we can ever come back.
our challenge. I think is that I think most of us are still very convinced that our first best is really face to face in person. That's still
Yeah.
it's the most effective that we know of, and I always go back. I said the online in the late in the early 2000s, that became very popular. You had like the University of Phoenix, for example. Uh, they said that they will go fully online. You had the MOOCs, the massive online courses, which came
Yes,
up,
yeah.
but they never caught on. They never, became as popular as they are now. So
Yeah.
in some sense, you know that um, we cannot go back to the pre-COVID. Uh, we are still hoping that elements of the in-person face-to-face will come back, uh, but it's most likely it could be blended. That this will be a mix of combining uh, the two things that's there. There'll be a blend of online and in-person um, communication.
Yeah.
So that's why, for example, I think capex decisions of building more physical facilities are need to be put on hold because
Correct.
we don't really know,
Baka hindi magamit in the next few years.
and we might have to build different types of facilities. Clearly, for example, I think we need to keep on strengthening our online capabilities for the school, for the ability to conduct online classes. uh, uh, Classroom, for example, that can be more conducive to online and at the same time blended. There are students there, but can be broadcasted online. Things like that. We might have to think in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, Father, it's been a very very rich discussion. No, thank you for all your inputs. Perhaps as a way of closing this, we would like to ask you for your final message to all our educators and those who are joining us online. Father, what would be your parting shot, your final message?
We're all Catholic educators, and I really that's why I purposely ended with reflections on spirituality. I think we have a very rich resource in our spirituality, and as I said, that uh, the image of the God of surprises is very important to keep in mind. And we look to our Mother Mary. She always said yes, although the surprises she faced were simply amazing and as
Yeah.
as frightening and as volatile as we are facing. But she was always open to them, and that we need to grow in faith and in trust that our God will be with us. And as long as we are open to Him, we follow His invitation, we move out of our comfort zones, He will lead us to greater service, uh, greater love, and deeper joy. So I think we have to have faith and deepen that faith.
Okay, thank you very much, Father Bobby, for this amazing session. I think my greatest takeaway here is really be open to the God of surprises. No, that if Mary she was surprised all her life, when she became the mother of God and all that, but yeah, through it all, God was always with us, and actually. For us too, that Mary is with us, no, guiding us like a true mother, holding our hand through this entire crisis. So kahit na mag-VUCA pa yan, di ba? We just have to pause, assess, anticipate, and act. No? And we turn inward. We remember to care also for ourselves as we care for others. I like that part, Father, where you said we have to also do some self-care. No? Hindi naman,
Important.
di ba? Because how can we care for others when we don't care for ourselves? No? And actually, I want to practice what you said about gratitude, no? To keep a gratitude journal, to write a gratitude letter to someone, to express our gratitude to someone at least once a day. And I will begin by expressing our gratitude to you, Father. Thank you again for all the wonderful insights that you have given us.
Thank
Okay, we again give Father Bobby a virtual round of applause wherever you are in the Philippines. Kanina, binasa ko lahat ng mga audience natin. Now, just to remind everyone once again, you will receive the certificate of attendance to the entire Congress only upon completion of the evaluation form for one session for day 3 and day 4. So if you are attending only this session for the day, please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form. The link will go live now. It's already 11:30, so the link should go live now, and you will find the link in the caption of this video, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Okay, so do not forget to submit the the evaluation form now and the general evaluation form tomorrow. So that's 3 evaluation forms from you, and then you will get your e-certificates. Our secretariat are there in there reminding us to request you to please carefully type in your name and your email address, because whatever name you type on the evaluation form will be the name that will appear in your e-certificate. And if you incorrectly type in your email address, you will not be able to receive your certificate because your email will bounce, no? So please fill out the name and the email address accurately. So there, please make sure that you join us for the next session. If you intend to, intend to join session 5, the link will go live after lunch around 12:30, an hour from now. So have a good lunch. This has been your Deputy Executive Director, Marianne Cruz, saying thank you and good afternoon.
We are Diwa. We make teaching and learning possible all the time, everywhere. Diwa educational resources are designed to make teaching and learning happen in the classroom, at home, or anywhere. Make teaching and learning more fun and engaging with the new Diwa textbooks. Fully aligned with the K-12 curriculum and the Department of Education's most essential learning competencies, Diwa textbooks provide complete and appropriate content that prepares students for higher education or employment. Now, with its new interactive digital format, Diwa textbooks can be broken down into digestible, easy-to-browse modules that include additional visual elements and up to 10 gamified quizzes per module, reimagining the teaching and learning experience for distance education. Provide students with additional knowledge that are interactive, thematic, and interesting with Diwa Supplemental Educational Magazines, or SEMs. SEMs are filled with articles and activities and come with a teacher's guide and editorial content that teachers can use as tools in designing effective learning experiences for students in the classroom. SEMs also contain interactive digital activities and can be used as an additional educational resource and reference material to augment students' learning sessions at home. Make meaningful learning experiences beyond the classroom with the power of C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S. With the ready-made interactive digital resources and add-on contents found inside C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S, teachers can save time in preparing materials for classroom lectures and discussions. Teachers can also maximize the collaboration tools as well as lesson and test authoring tools available in C.O.N.G.R.E.S, so that students can learn safely at home, synchronously or asynchronously. Redefine student learning with Checkbox, our gamified assessment portal for grade school and junior high school students. Checkbox contains gamified drills that can be used in conducting quizzes and seatworks, providing teachers and students with a blended learning environment. Using the tools and features in Checkbox, teachers can create tailored activities as well as monitor learners' performance in real time, helping students develop mastery in 5 major subject areas anytime, anywhere, and on any device. With Diwa's educational resources, teachers continue to be frontliners in nation building. Students become active contributors to the country's progress. And schools create a teaching and learning environment that defies any boundaries. Together, we give education the attention it deserves all the time, everywhere. We are Diwa. We move the nation forward through education.
With C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S Publishing Incorporated, we assure you as our partners to be there throughout the journey. We are with you in every step of the way. Technology is continuously evolving, and C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S is riding with it. From print to digital, C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S got you covered with the products that we offer. Spearheading C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S products are the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S, an e-learning portal for teachers only, and the Leveraging Education, Augmenting the Future, or LEAF, for student-teacher access. For teachers, administrators, and school owners, we have the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S. It is perfect for you in maneuvering fast-paced demands of the education field as we collaborate in creating a balanced amalgam of theories, pedagogies, and practices inside and outside of the realm of the learning environments. Reimagine, reinforce, recognize, to make quality education through a variety of lectures, trainings, and webinars in aid of instruction, classroom management, and institution management. These offerings are perfect responses. In connection to C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S, to provide service beyond sales, C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S also has the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S for its partner mission schools in providing them with capacity building focused branding or rebranding the institution inside and out. It also practices reimagining various school scenarios and responses to the needs of the time, reinforcing school climate and culture through different webinars conducted among institution partners and in recognizing the value of each stakeholder in the success of value-laden instruction delivery. Another product of C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S is the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S Assist. This offering features a 24/7 hotline for technical assistance in the use and maintenance of the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S and LEAF. Almost everyone in the academe can benefit from this, from the teachers, admins, and school owners to the students and parents. C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S Assists aims to provide an assistance response team to address immediate technical concerns while ensuring the users the full utilization of the C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S and LEAF. It also offers visits with partners to address offline concerns when needed. We ensure quality service delivered through this hotline assistance to our partners always. And lastly, C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S Thinks. Together with the partners, we provide them with external consultations for present and future research agenda, accreditation certification, and imaging one. C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S thinks that with a client in full swing, it is redirecting the winds within their institutions. C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S Thinks is for teachers, administrators, school owners, students, parents, and even extended service communities and collaborative partner agencies. Through innovative designs, proactive responses, and reconfigured goals, established institutions are on the verge of the fourth going to the fifth industrial revolution. Strong definitive vision is what's needed in remaining relevant and competent in this world. And this is what C.O.N.G.R.E.S.S is all about.
Through the years, we have been your partner in innovative teaching and effective learning. Our teaching and learning resources and the professional development programs for teachers and school leaders speak of the alaga that you deserve as our collaborative partners. Now more than ever, we commit to alagang Phoenix Sibs, the cornerstone of our mission in education. We vow to guide and support you in navigating uncertain paths in education today by providing holistic solutions that support instructional resiliency. With our MELCS compliant print and digital resources and programs, we help you future-proof quality instruction. Distance learning must-haves for students, teachers, and learning coaches. Designed for meaningful home-based learning experiences. Student-friendly activities that form self-directed learners. Replete with learning tasks that serve various instructional purposes. For advanced learners, and for those who need more instructional support. My Distance Learning Buddy Series. A modular textbook series for the 21st century learner in the new normal. 6 subjects, 1 learning package. MELC compliant. Easy to do learning tasks. Rich assessments that help inform learning and teaching. Phoenix.R.E.S.S. Beefing up our holistic edtech programs and responding to the demands of the new normal. Our new edtech programs have been designed to address your needs. R.E.S.S Lite, beyond a learning management system. R.E.S.S Flex empowers schools to effectively use learning technologies and resources. Redefining our commitment to advancing the standards in research and assessment to influence the quality of performance outcomes in schools and in the workplace. Computer-based testing in the new normal. At Phoenix Sibs, we arm you with holistic and meaningful resources. For innovative teaching and effective distance learning. At Phoenix Sibs, we help you get ready for the next in Philippine education.
In this age of new normal, online is not your only option. Because new normal means new learning modalities and new learning possibilities. Let Vibal make learning offline possible with SmartPass. SmartPass contains pre-made daily modules sequenced according to DepEd's budgeted teaching and learning calendar. Each module has a specific lesson duration and has day markers to guide parents and teachers in the asynchronous learning of learners. Inside the modules available in SmartClass, you will find the following elements. First, learning competencies are identified in the module openers. Kickstarters are available to test students' prior knowledge on the subject matter. This set of activities, found at the beginning of each lesson, may also serve as motivational activities. Parents of preschool to grade 2 students will also find notes to parents which contain tips and pointers on how they can guide their child while learning at home. Redefine your students' learning experience with the integration of augmented reality technology into images and illustrations available in SmartClass, making learning more interactive and exciting. At the end of each module, Long Quiz is also available to assess students' understanding of the lesson. SmartClass also features Wrap Up, a lesson ender activity that applies the constructivism theory of learning. In Wrap Up, students are expected to summarize the lesson on their own using a graphic organizer. You may also evaluate the quality of your students' learning by letting them practice their learning in real life through GR.E.S.S formatted performance tasks. The content of SmartClass is designed for the entire academic year, and it is available for 5 major subjects. All aligned with DepEd's K-12 curriculum and covers the most essential learning competencies prescribed by DepEd. Secure your own copy of SmartPass before classes open. Contact marketing@dibalgroup.com to know more.
The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in school closures all across the globe. But even in these uncertain times, education must continue.
Rodrigo Duterte says he won't allow students to go back to school
for a one-sided
continue operating. They have
She is talking about the shift to distance learning. Through this method, teachers deliver lessons outside the traditional classroom setup.
As the leading provider of e-learning materials in the country, Tech Factors Incorporated is committed in helping you and your students experience positive teaching and learning environment inside or even outside the physical classroom.
The DepEd, we will not anymore have these face-to-face classes with our students. We asked Tech Factor if we can convert to Tech Teach. And I'm happy because they agreed to that proposal. So, we have scheduled trainings already for our teachers.
The way Tech Factors are handling their schools and the teachers is very accommodating and very commendable because they are there from time to time whenever we need guidance and help in terms of the LMS, in terms of the content.
Congratulations for coming up with very good, effective, relevant, and useful learning materials.
Tech Factors is continuously finding ways to adapt and to adjust in this new normal. I am convinced that being partners with TFI is a big help in this time of new normal.
Tech Factors Incorporated, making learning a great experience. For more information, visit us at www.techfactors.com.